There are two things sitting inside your kitchen right now today. Two ordinary items you walk past every single day of your life. Two ingredients that together strip rust down to raw bare metal. They cost less than the gas you burnt driving to the auto store. They work on car panels, on tools, on hinges, on cast iron pans. They work on garden gates, on bicycles, on antique restorations. They work better than the chemical product on the shelf at the parts store that the manufacturer charges you $40 for. And almost nobody talks about it anymore. Old mechanics know it. Restoration shops know it. Rural blacksmiths knew it generations ago. Farmers passed the method from father to son long before branded chemical sprays took over every shelf in America. Yet somehow the method vanished from modern repair culture completely. Most people today think rust removal requires expensive branded chemicals, expensive labor, and expensive restoration equipment. But the truth is much simpler than that. Long before industrial rust removers existed, ordinary people already solved this problem with ingredients sitting inside their kitchens. They used simple chemistry instead of expensive marketing. They understood reactions, patience, and technique. And the results were incredible. Back in the late 1800s, blacksmiths across rural America fought a constant battle against oxidation. Iron tools rusted overnight during humid seasons. Farm equipment corroded in storage barns. Chains, blows, horseshoes, and cast iron cookware all suffered from the same slow destruction. Replacing those items constantly was impossible for working families. Restoration became survival. So they experimented. Some mixed vinegar with ash. Others tested lemon juice with salt water. A few eventually discovered something that changed everything: a simple acidic solution strengthened with ordinary table salt. Combined correctly, the reaction became powerful enough to break apart rust without destroying the metal underneath. The method spread quietly through workshops and farms. Trade journals mentioned it casually. Agricultural manuals published the formula openly. Mechanics taught apprentices how to make the mixture during training sessions. Nobody treated it like a secret because it was considered common knowledge. Then something changed. After World War II, the chemical industry exploded across America. New maintenance products flooded hardware stores. Rust removers appeared in bright branded containers promising industrial power and professional strength. Advertising campaigns convinced homeowners that restoration now required specialized commercial products. Slowly, the old recipes disappeared from magazines and manuals. But the chemistry never stopped working. The science behind the mixture is surprisingly simple. White vinegar contains acetic acid. That acid reacts with iron oxide, the reddish-brown corrosion layer we call rust. The acid weakens the bonds inside the oxidation and slowly dissolves them away from the metal surface. But vinegar alone works slowly. That is where salt changes everything. Salt acts like an accelerator. It increases conductivity and helps moisture penetrate deeper into the rust layer. Instead of attacking only the surface, the reaction spreads downward into cracks, pits, and hidden corrosion pockets. The combination becomes far more aggressive than vinegar by itself. And there is one more ingredient that most people overlook. Flour or cornstarch. Not because they add chemistry, but because they transform the liquid into a thick gel. The gel sticks to vertical surfaces. It clings to car panels, hinges, and metal tools without dripping away. That extra contact time allows the reaction to keep working for hours. This is the exact process old restoration workers used decades ago. Take 1 cup of distilled white vinegar. Add half a cup of fine table salt. Stir slowly until the salt dissolves completely. Then add flour or cornstarch 1 spoon at a time until the mixture becomes thick enough to spread with a brush. The result should resemble paintable paste. Apply the mixture directly onto rusted metal. Cover every corroded section evenly. Leave it untouched for several hours depending on rust depth. Light rust may break down in under 2 hours. Heavy oxidation sometimes needs overnight treatment. Then comes the satisfying part. Wipe the paste away with a damp cloth. Underneath the residue is bare gray metal. Not painted metal. Not coated metal. Clean exposed steel restored from underneath years of corrosion. Most people seeing this reaction for the first time think it looks fake. But restoration communities have used variations of this process for generations. Vintage car enthusiasts still rely on it today. Antique tool collectors use it carefully on rare restoration projects. Rural workshop owners pass the method privately between trusted workers. Some restoration shops even avoid talking about it publicly because they charge customers hundreds of dollars for services based on techniques almost anyone can perform at home. And this is where the story becomes more interesting. Rust removal is not a small industry. Consumer maintenance products generate billions of dollars every single year. Spray removers, industrial gels, rust converters, restoration kits, protective coatings, the market is enormous. Entire companies depend on homeowners believing corrosion repair requires expensive commercial products. Now imagine what happens if ordinary people realize they can solve many of those problems with ingredients costing less than a fast food meal. That changes everything. A homemade solution cannot easily be patented. Vinegar already exists everywhere. Salt already exists everywhere. No corporation controls access to either ingredient. That makes the formula difficult to commercialize compared to branded chemical products with trademarked packaging and aggressive advertising campaigns. Over time, the old household methods slowly faded from mainstream repair culture. New generations never learned them. Trade schools focused on commercial solutions instead. Hardware stores promoted expensive products. Television advertisements reinforced the belief that professional problems required professional chemicals. But hidden inside old agricultural magazines and restoration manuals, the original methods remain preserved. And the details are fascinating. Some blacksmiths improved the mixture further by warming the vinegar slightly before adding salt. Others added lemon juice for extra acidity. Certain mechanics combined the treatment with steel wool polishing afterward to restore shine to old tools and hardware. In coastal regions where humidity caused severe corrosion, workers repeated the process weekly as preventative maintenance. The formula became part of everyday survival. Farmers restored broken equipment instead of replacing it. Families cleaned antique cookware passed down across generations. Railroad workers treated rusted bolts and connectors in remote maintenance yards. During economic hardship, restoration techniques like these saved enormous amounts of money. Today, most people simply throw rusted items away. That is exactly why knowledge like this matters. Modern consumer culture encourages replacement instead of repair. But older generations approached materials differently. They repaired tools, restored machinery, maintained equipment carefully because replacing it was expensive and wasteful. And honestly, the old methods still work. Even modern restoration experts admit that simple acidic treatments remain effective for many types of oxidation. Expensive products often rely on the same basic chemistry hidden behind more complicated branding and packaging. Of course, there are precautions. Never store the mixture in metal containers because the acid will corrode them. Use glass or food-grade plastic only. Always test a small hidden section first before treating valuable surfaces. Keep the mixture away from children and pets. Apply it outdoors or near ventilation because the smell can become strong during long treatments. And never leave the paste sitting for excessive periods on delicate surfaces. Patience matters more than force. One mistake beginners make is scrubbing aggressively too early. The chemistry needs time to work. Allow the reaction to weaken the rust layer naturally first. Once the oxidation softens, removal becomes dramatically easier with minimal damage underneath. That is why experienced restorers often prefer slower methods. Fast industrial removers can sometimes damage paint, weaken metal coatings, or create harsh chemical burns. Simple vinegar-based mixtures operate more gently when used correctly. They trade speed for control. And for antique restorations, control matters enormously. Collectors restoring vintage tools, historical equipment, or classic vehicle parts often avoid overly aggressive chemicals specifically because preserving original metal surfaces is important. Gentle restoration helps maintain authenticity. This old kitchen formula became valuable precisely because it balanced effectiveness with simplicity. No expensive equipment. No industrial training. No specialized machinery. Just chemistry. And perhaps that is the most surprising part of all. Some of the most effective repair knowledge in history never came from billion-dollar laboratories. It came from ordinary people solving practical problems with whatever they already had available around them. Farmers. Blacksmiths. Mechanics. Workshop owners. People who understood materials through experience rather than marketing. That knowledge still exists today if people are willing to look for it. The next time you see rust spreading across an old tool, bicycle frame, cast iron pan, or garden gate, remember this: corrosion looks permanent until you understand what causes it. Once you understand the reaction itself, the problem becomes far less mysterious. Rust is only oxidation. And oxidation can be reversed. That simple truth saved countless tools and machines long before modern chemical companies existed. It worked then. It still works now. Most people spend hundreds replacing objects that could have been restored in a single afternoon. They throw away cookware, hardware, tools, and metal furniture because corrosion makes them believe the damage is irreversible. But often, it is not. Sometimes the solution has been sitting inside the kitchen the entire time. And once you know that, you start looking at ordinary household ingredients differently forever.